welcome everyone to this tour, this virtual tour of a virtual art fair where the Association of Women Art Dealers hosting the event, and we are delighted today to have with us Cynthia Corbett of the Cynthia Corbett Gallery and the Young Masters Art Prize. She's the founder of both, and Cynthia is going to be taking us through a tour of her booth of the fair. So Cynthia, I've kicked off by showing the introductory view that you get when you visit the art fair. It's as if you're actually visiting the fair, perhaps in Miami. So a very brief little talk about what's happening with the fair that I think is really worthwhile people hearing about is that this particular fair has been curated. This is not something that a lot of people have just been able to pile into. SCOPE, as Cynthia was explaining to us just a few days ago, has really started to return to their roots, to have good quality curated booths. This is about quality, it's not about quantity. They recognize as a fair that they started as an event that really focused on contemporary art, and they have really come back to those roots. And I think with Cynthia's presentation, we can see that with what she's got. We always know that Cynthia has curated stands. I've watched Cynthia with her program take the Young Masters Art Prize around to different fairs in different countries as well. And what you can see in today's tour and today's focus is that she'll be looking at architecture and art. So what I will do is I will stop sharing my screen so that Cynthia, hello everyone, so that Cynthia is able to share her screen and get started with the tour. Hello, Cynthia.
Hello, hi. Yes, so very nice to meet you all and see you all and do a virtual tour of the SCOPE Immersive Art Fair. Normally, we would be doing a real tour of an art fair, but at least we're trying to engage with, since, let's face it, since COVID, since the challenges we've had, we have actually embraced the virtual and digital format as much as we can. It's important for ourselves as a gallery. It's vitally important for our artists. It's important for our collectors, our clients, our supporters, our patrons, and generally our audience. So when Susan asked if we would do this tour, I embraced it. So I guess now what we have to do is so we should go to the tour now?
Absolutely. And what we're currently seeing, for everyone's interest as well, is Cynthia's fabulous home gallery. And it really is a true delight. I've been there a number of times. You're seeing works of art behind her. There's so much color. I can
Yes, and behind me, for example, is Deborah Zapati. We did our second virtual digital exhibition during the pandemic was for Deborah Zapati, because we were supposed to be having a show for her, a 35-year retrospective. So what we did is we still held the show, and it was a combination of Zoom meetings at her studio, at our home gallery. We worked with the BAFAMI, the British Friends of the Art Museums of Israel. We did Instagram Live, loads of Zoom meetings, and it was really fantastic. So there's many paintings of hers here, and then also on the is this the right of me up there?
Yes, yeah.
That is an artwork by Fabiano Parisi, who will be part of our tour today as well.
Great. So, and please share the art fair on your end. And for everyone in attendance, any questions you have, any comments that you have, please pop those into the chat room, and Andrea and myself will pick up on those. We're interested in your comments, and I know from over the years doing various tours of art fairs with Cynthia presenting that she is just absolutely brilliant at giving some insight into what she's curated. And in fact, one of the artists I remember seeing at an art fair a good 13 years ago or so, It's Tom Layton, who I remember from all of those years ago,
Yeah,
who will be
yeah.
seeing, I think, first. So, Cynthia, over to you.
Yes. Okay, so I have my wonderful colleague here, Christina Sheck, who's going to be helping me navigate the actual fair. So as you can see, they, you know, let's face it, the virtual fairs are trying, the OVRs are trying to do whatever they can to create a really interesting experience. So obviously this fair would be December in Miami. So we're entering the art fair here. And they're talking, the program is there, and then we're going to come to our booth B127, and it says Cynthia Corbett Gallery, Andy Burgess, Fabiano, Parisi, and Tom Leighton. And I think we'll start with the Tom Leighton work, but just a brief overview of what we did in this curation. We the way, and I think Susan mentioned earlier that SCOPE has curated this tour. I mean, sorry, this art fair. They invited certain galleries that they would like to work with, that they were really respecting of their program. So they asked us if we could come up with a curatorial project, and we thought that architecture right now and places that we inhabit, or well, maybe we want to inhabit, or places we would want to go to, you know, is really, really important given the challenges we're facing now. So we've been working with Tom Leighton. We'll start with him. We've been working with Tom Leighton even before he graduated from the Royal College of Art in 2005. Tom graduated with a specialization in printing. But this is, as you can see, this is a photographic collage. And this is called The Lakes. And you can see here the information. It is a photographic print. It's perspex and dye bond. You can go down if you want to show. And then obviously if people are interested, you can hit the buy now button. This is really interesting to see. And or you contact the gallery. So, you know, obviously in that context, the art fair is trying to be like a real art fair. You press the I here and you get you get the information. But in this particular artwork, it's really extraordinary because one of the things that you're seeing here on the lakes is it is a geographical architectural fantasy. So basically, Tom Leighton, what his oeuvre is, he runs around the world, not now, dare I say, but he has in the past constantly traveled around the world to places that interest him, excite him, particularly for their geography, their architecture. And then once he is back from his whichever journey, he will look at his work, and then he will look at his library of work, and then he will create a series around the new work, plus taking things, if you will, like an artist would, like an artist of paint would, from their historical influences, and he collages them together. But they're seamless, obviously. So let's go back to the full image. So I want to see the whole thing. And if I point to the right, that's a very, very recognizable landmark on the right. It's the Flatiron Building in New York, and then there's the College. It's in Dubai, and then here we've got the Gherkin in London. This lake it's called the lake, but this lake is actually in Chicago, and it's green. And the reason it's green is that Tom Leighton ended up there on the 17th of March. And he couldn't understand initially, why is the lake green? And then, of course, people told him, well, it's St. Patrick's Day, which, of course, is celebrated in Chicago, but maybe not celebrated in London, where he's from. Anyway, so that was just something that he was very fortunate to have that happen. The other thing he does is he merges city and urban environments with landscape and countryside and rural. So you've got on the left here, the very left, it's okay. You have the mountains I can never remember if they're in Switzerland. Well, I think those are the Swiss Alps, but sometimes there are mountains in other places as well. And then here is extraordinary. It's the Shibuya Crossing, but obviously not the way you might see it. And these are the cherry blossoms that, of course, are just a plethora of those in Japan at a certain time of year. So this is quite an interesting piece to be showing now, because you have so many people that are, some of them might be social distancing, but there's a crowd. So, we're not having crowds right now, but it's in a way, it's a reflection on, a fantasy. Anyway, it's always been, his work has always been some sort of architectural fantasy, but now it's also a fantasy of how we're living our life right now, and can we be transported into this incredible artwork. I'm going to say something about all three artists at the end that is going to be, I think, very interesting for the viewers as well. Then we're going to, so Thomas, we've been working with him since 2005. He's British. He's now relocated to Cornwall, but and as soon as I'm sure travel allows him, he will be back on the road and creating more masterpieces like this. Another thing about Tom, which is very interesting, we started to show his work even before he graduated, and that was when we were doing a number of exhibitions and art fairs all over the world, in Paris, in Chicago, in Miami, in New York. And in Paris, he was spotted by Le Monde, the famous newspaper, and they did a 5-page spread on him when he was 22 years old. And it really kind of catapulted him. And from there, he got into museum collections. And this is where, that's a larger discussion, but about, what is the global world of art, and, how much we are missing maybe on the emerging side, because if you can be out there and be, trying to nurture your artists and expose them as much as possible, you never know who is going to see them. That's the beauty of, what we had in the past. Maybe digital will substitute it for this. That's another discussion. So now I'm going to move to the second wall. And this is Fabiano Parisi. Fabiano is an Italian former psychologist who then retrained as a photographer, a fine art photographer. And he is based in Rome. And this work is from one of his, the series called Il Mondo Che Non Vedo, the world we do not see, or the world we choose to not see, or the world we may not see. Again, open to interpretation. But this is also photography, like Tom Layton. It is photography, but unlike Tom Layton, the work is taken, that is one image. Now, how does he get that one image to look the way it is? He takes hundreds and maybe even thousands of images in the particular location that he is entering. This is not digitally enhanced. It has not been changed. It's all about the light. So how in the world we do not see relates to many different things, but I guess the easiest way to describe his work is that these are villas, or they're villas, they're places of entertainment, theaters, old hospitals, but they're all abandoned. They have all been given up. They've all, there are no people here. And what he does for his practice, like Tom, he travels all over the world in search of these incredible buildings. And his main focus has been America, mainly the East Coast, and all over Europe. And he has created an incredible body of work. Again, I saw his work It was in 2010 in Bologna at an art fair. He then applied to Young Masters. He was accepted as a finalist in 2012. And then we have been working together ever since. I've been exhibiting his work all over the world. He again also is getting into museum collections, is doing museum shows, and really has created an incredible career for himself. This particular work is from I think I need to see, it is from, yes, it's a villa in the countryside outside Bologna, and it's from the 19th century, and it was subject to decades of neglect and vandalism. However, some of the beautiful furniture, fireplaces, and frescoes remained. So, and the other thing to note, we can go to the next one. This is called Il Mondo che non vedo as well. And this is a rural area about an hour outside of Milan. It's a villa from the 17th century, so it's quite old. But all of that is fresco painting, and it looks like a painting really. Now, how he gets the light so perfectly, he many times he's breaking into these buildings. Let's tell let's full disclosure here, because he can't get access. If he finds a place that he wants to get into, sometimes he can't get access, so he breaks in. But he always goes at the same time, wherever he is in the world, right before sunrise, so dawn. And then he waits, and then he goes in. And so if he's lucky, he may have an hour of beautiful, incredible shots, and sometimes he has less, depending on if someone, a caretaker or someone, finds him. But that's kind of his practice. We had a few solo exhibitions for Fabiano in New York, and the 21C Museum, which some of you may know of, museum and hotel. It's all over the different places in America. It started in Louisville, Kentucky. It's in Ohio, South Carolina, Arkansas, I think now.
Yes, it is. Alongside Crystal Bridges.
And they are just so, their curatorial team is amazing. They've bought 4 artworks of Fabiano, and their collections are fabulous. Cynthia, I just wanted to say too that with what we can see, the detail is fantastic in this. Yeah. Do you want us to go? Yeah. Tell us. Do you want?
Oh, it's wonderful. Carry on just as you are. But it's
okay. So let's just give let's give Walter's Cube a little bit of let's give them some kudos for this. So if the virtual fair can get it right, the reason that this was different than Artland's fair, which was Untitled, and the reason it's quite complicated, technically, let's face it, is because these are high-res, there are high-res images as if you are really at the fair. Now that takes a lot. We of course could have done, not me personally, but we, the fair or a gallery, can do this more easily with 2D all over the place, but you then don't get this quality in terms of being able to see the actual artwork. So it is quite extraordinary. And then time, how are we doing for time? Okay, so now we're going to move to the final wall. I will also say though, we although we were asked to curate this by the fair, they chose where they put the images. So it's fine. Maybe we would have done it slightly differently, but it's so we accepted. We had to accept what their positioning was, if you will. Now this is the artist. This is a painter unlike Fabiano, who's a fine art photographer, and Tom Layton, who's a fine art photographer from the printing world. And I still call him Andrew Burgess, but he's now called Andy Burgess. And Andrew is a British artist who I met in 2001. And before I even had my gallery, right after I finished studying for my postgraduate degree in art history at Christie's, I fell in love with his work at first sight. I mean, I just thought he was amazing. I ran into the gallery and said, you know, your work is like, no, I said, the work here is like Hopper meets pop art. And I had never met Andrew before, and he said, did you read the article in the Times today? And I said, no. And I said, well, who are you? And he said, I'm the artist. And there was a review in the Times that had said exactly that Andrew's work was like Hopper meets pop art. So his subject, very much like the other two artists, is architecture. And until in recent years, it's more modernism. But when I met Andrew, he was doing a lot of, I don't know if, can't really show that, can we? At the end, okay. I've got some catalogs to show you as well. So Andrew was doing a lot of urban architectural scenes, you know, urban life. Again, like Fabiano's work, no people. You know, his subject is the actual architecture of the buildings, and we are to inhabit them, and we can have a narrative, and we can have a story about these places. And these are real places, but they're also like it, you know, he shares with Tom. There's an architectural fantasy here as well, because this one, let's go to this one. This is called the Style House, and you know, people might know of that because it's one of the very famous houses in California that is celebrated in modernism. There's a very famous photo by a 50s or 60s photo of this in the Hollywood Hills. And of course, what he's done here, he has taken the Style House and he has recreated it in, you know, an Andrew Burgessized it, if you will, and put different colors in it, but was really focusing on the line, on the geometry, and the pool, you know, always pool. And then the other one I want to talk to you about is Lookout House at Dusk. I think this is one of his masterpieces. It was chosen specifically by the SCOPE Art Fair as a highlight, and one that they really wanted to focus on because they felt that the painting here was just so extraordinary and actually quite varied, even in its composition itself, with the colors, with the lines, you know, with the heavy geometry. So when you were entering it, we're like, you know, we were in a box and we're seeing all these lines, and where would we go? It's kind of almost like a maze. And when you come out, it's kind of you see it differently, and you see the landscape around it, and it's more soft. So it's kind of like a combination. Again, we're inhabiting this place. It's based on a real place that Andrew has seen, and he's imagined as well. So basically, Andrew started in Britain, in London. He's a North London boy, and he had a very successful career here. He met his wife online, and moved where she was to Tucson, Arizona, and settled there. And from there, that was about 10 years ago. And then, of course, his work is still celebrating architecture and geometry and color and light, but it really pushed it to, you know, be informed by the Southwest. And, you know, a good comparison here is David Hockney, who Andrew has been compared to by many journalists. he saw the light, he saw the color. It just excited him in a way that he wanted to get stuck into modernism. We started showing his work all over California, particularly in Palm Springs. We were fortunate enough he befriended the son of Donald Wexler, the famous modernist architect. And then he was able, before Donald Wexler passed away, he was able to get into some of those homes and photograph them. So it's been really, really interesting working with Andrew. So I started to work with him before I even had a gallery. And we've been working together for, I guess, nearly 20 years, and both successfully in all over Europe and of course in the United States. So I think one of the things I wanted to say about all three of these artists, they share the love of architecture. They share the love of technique. I'd say they're all three quite obsessed with quality and technique in their own particular way. They also, though, all three of them, and it sometimes drives me crazy, when I try to find more information out on all their works that I'm exhibiting, they always hold something back. And what they're all three say is that, look, you know, there has to be a sense of mystery here. There has to be a sense of exploration. You have to allow the viewer to also, you know, find a way in themselves and be part, if you will, of the narrative. So I'm just going to show you. Other questions?
Yeah, questions or comments from people as well. And we have been sharing some links for people, so ways that people can continue to follow you, which the CynthiaCorbettGallery.com, Cynthia Corbett Gallery on Instagram. While
Young
we're
Masters Art Prize on Instagram as well.
Absolutely.
That's why Fabiano came to us. And I was just going to show you quickly that this was, so Andrew is also now exploring his love of collage and abstract work. And this was an early catalog that he did in 2010, amazing work. This was, if I can see, so some of his earlier work, if you will, very much city, very urban, and led him to looking at vintage cars, led him to places like Florida, Bermuda, Miami, which then led him on, once he, you know, relocated to America, led him on to, you know, his whole love of modernism. And this is a catalog from his major solo show that he had with the Tucson Museum of Contemporary Art in 2018.
And Cynthia, there's one question, which is, will you be showing some of Andy's new tapestry work that you were...
His collage.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we now that the next phase, if you will, of what's happening in the art world is starting. So for instance, with Andrew, since lockdown, he has been literally focusing on so much abstract work, and he's done an incredible body of work. So we're going to be talking about that, and how we're going to be showing that. Obviously, first probably online, and then hopefully getting some stuff over here. You know, we're hoping that, you know, that we can have some physical expert shows in the future, but with him and with others. And I can tell you a little bit at the end about 2 exhibitions that we have live, but they're not involving Andrew at this point. And I'll just show you a really interesting other work, also Tom Layton, so you can see some of his incredible work. I mean, it's just, you know, they're just phenomenal artworks. And then there's the Empire of Light series, also by Fabiano. This is a book that he created largely this was largely a lot of empty places of leisure and entertainment all throughout the Northeast of America. This was from the Catskills, actually. So that's, you know, again, abandoned. And he doesn't move anything, doesn't change anything. That's what it looks like. So that's quite extraordinary too. Yeah, so any more questions? And then, hi, Abigail, hi.
Hi. I have a question. Well, I have one comment that I agree that the resolution is so much better with this fair. So it looks really, really good. It looks just like sleek and nice. I mean, it's really professional. And my question for you is, so this is a 3-4 day fair. And in terms of like reflecting on your experience with past online fairs, maybe like the Hamptons Fair, like what are your asks or what was different that, you know, made you want to do SCOPE, or what do you think they'll do better?
Well, you know, let's face it, it's all early days.
Yeah.
For all these fairs, all the technology, all the organization, and the galleries that, you know, are taking the risk and doing something. They may not get this 100% right, but they're really trying. I mean, they are really going back to their roots, which is this whole new contemporaries thing, and they're trying to really assist artists. The galleries that are involved, you know, they're trying to drive traffic as much as they can to us through their. I mean, you know, SCOPE has been going for a while, so they have a very strong and loyal database. So they're constantly sending out their newsletters, their private VIP emails. They're doing a massive, you know, social media campaign. I mean, what do we really want to get from this? I have to be realistic. You know, we made one sale from our involvement with the Hamptons. Yes, it was someone that knew us, but it was someone that was like, this is really exciting. I really want to do this. I want to enjoy this. I want to see this. So can I say that it was directly resulting from doing the Hamptons? I don't know. But if I didn't do it, what would have happened? I don't know. I think one has to be careful, but I think, you know, it's depending on how much they're supporting you. And SCOPE is really, like, they really wanted us.
And Cynthia, going back to what Tom Layton showing, that piece that you presented, I mean, that from the very early period of some of the photographs from the earlier period of the lockdown, or right when it was happening, and then presented now with this whole narrative of these people close together. I mean, it's kind of chilling and inspiring at once. So I think it's quite exciting for collectors to see that kind of work that's been developed during this time.
And like any art fair, let's face it, I mean, obviously what do we want as a gallery? We want sales. We need sales to continue our program, to continue to exist, to support our artists, you know, let them eat, la la la. But we don't always sell to the people that maybe are going to end up being our best clients and supporters. So now what's happening with us? We're getting a lot of inquiries. We're getting a lot of we're actually getting in touch as well with some of our clients and supporters that maybe we lost touch with, or maybe weren't as interested in our program, or couldn't go to all the fairs, or couldn't come over here or see exhibitions. And we're having a lot of dialogue with past clients, past collectors, past supporters, and rejuvenating those relationships. And if nothing else, we are marketing ourselves. And
no, I agree. I think that, like, drumming up of the excitement, that you're staying active, all of that is just so important. And I like you said about the Hampton Fair. I mean, that's how I feel when we do like online shows or something, and a past collector buys. I'm like, you know, maybe they were thinking of it anyway, but probably not. And this created that excitement that got them in the door.
And I dare I say, I mean, you know, I'm maybe being Pollyannish, but you know, because we really are going to be here for a while. So dare I say that, you know, this is going to be, the more we do and the more we do well, and then what we do with real care and curation and thought, as opposed to just saying, oh, I want to be a gallery and let's throw the stuff up. I think that we will get reaction, and I think we will get support, and you know, and you know, let's face it, the artists. I mean, you know, not everyone is Damien Hirst or Alsam Kiefer, or you know, with huge amounts of money. I mean, they need, you know, besides the emotional and you know the intellectual and professional support they need, you know, they need the financial support as well. So I think we're going to just, you know, like we always have, you know, try things as much as we can.
And hey, I've heard some collectors saying how exciting it is to see art all over the world right now. I think, and we've got a question actually from one of our attendees, and I'll hand over to Anne.
Cynthia, hello.
Hello.
I've got.
That's what's behind you, by the way. That's
well, this is where software gets written in places like this. I have a question for you, which is, obviously when you're on a stand at a fair, you can see how many people come in, you can see which pieces are attracting attention. Do you get any feedback from the you know, virtual space provider as to how many people are coming in and what they look at? Do you get any sense of that?
Yes, we did get an analytical report from the Hamptons. I'm assuming that we're going to get a similar thing from SCOPE. And we were able to see how many viewed us each day, where those viewers were geographically located, and what they were looking at, and if they clicked on for more information. And obviously, if you sold something, you then were you know, getting more information. So I was very happy because there weren't that many non-American and actually mainly East Coast galleries in the Hamptons, and we overall, out of the 130 galleries, we were like the 21st best viewed.
Okay.
One day we were like number 7. I was like, whoa.
And I've just got one more question, because I haven't looked around this show, but I remember just virtually looking around the Hampton show, and just in terms of the kind of experience of going around a virtual space, which I know because I admit I play lots of computer games, the thing that struck me as weird was the fact you were in this locked room that you couldn't get out of. That was the only thing that made me kind of go, ugh, because it was like you're in a prison cell. And it would be nice if there was, it might be some feedback you could give to the developers, but it'd be nice if there was, even if you can't go out of it, if there was a way to see out into a bigger space.
Well, so isn't that so interesting that you as a technical person are giving those comments, because obviously that's what SCOPE has done. So that feedback that you have given was obviously given to the technology provider of the Hamptons, and then SCOPE is the same one. So they must have just worked like crazy to get the technology done, because we can navigate this fair where we couldn't with the Hamptons.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So well done, well spotted. Yeah. So this one we can navigate. The Hamptons we could not. And it wasn't because the Hamptons were saying, it wasn't the art fair saying we don't want to do it. It was the technology provider who said we're not there yet. So things are moving really fast.
That's amazing how fast that's moving.
Well, I suspect that means that they were working on it and it wasn't quite ready for rollout when the Hamptons Fair happened. So that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So final comments, Cynthia. This has been a brilliant overview of the 3 artists from the show, focusing on this architectural theme. We're seeing what they're doing during this period. So what would you like to leave us with?
Oh, I think if you don't do anything, nothing will happen. So carry on creativity.
We love it. Love it, everyone. And be sure to follow Cynthia, everyone.
Yeah, and then just to say, can I just say, so we have 2 exhibitions that one is launching tomorrow. It is for Matt Smith, who is a ceramicist and textile artist and curator, who is incredible. He won the 2014 Young Masters Ceramic Prize. and has just had all these accolades and awards and acquisition things happen to him with the Crafts Council, the V&A, Fitzwilliam Museum, and the Pitts Rivers. We're opening an exhibition for him tomorrow that the Crafts Council has curated with Matt Smith at 99 Brookfield, which is in Broadgate. And it's the Brookfield Property Company that has supported this. And it's going to be incredible. It's all the details are on my website, obviously timed appointments, and that will go through November. So it'll be up during Freeze Week. And then we are also doing a live and virtual exhibition for 82-year-old Irish painter, Clement Patty, who's now has been based in Sussex for many years. And again, that's going to be in central London at La Galleria in St. James from the 26th to the 31st of October. As you can see here, is that backwards? Yeah, it's probably backwards. Viewing by timed appointments. And all the information on that is on our website. So both exhibitions will have Eventbrite things you can sign up for. And the Twamer one is really amazing because it's her career life retrospective. There'll be work there from the 50s until today. So please support and actually our charity partner on that. I guess that's the other thing I should say. I think people should never forget to be supporting of charities, particularly now. So everything we've done, we've tried to partner a bit with some sort of charity. We've worked with the Trussell Trust, the amazing food bank people. We've worked with the British Friends of the Art Museums of Israel. We have worked with the Craft Potters Association, and now we're going to be working with Manor Cheshire that provides homes for disabled people. So that's a special charity that Twaima and her husband are very involved with, and it's just amazing. So I think we can't, let's not forget that as well, if we can.
Right, absolutely. Bring your values right through to exhibiting, so supporting artists and these really important initiatives as well. Thank you very much, as ever, Cynthia. And we will look forward to following the gallery, following the Young Masters Art Prize, seeing what you're up to next, and watching this whole online space develop. And hey, I keep saying it's so important to bring the social into this. So it's been really fun.
It's been really fun. And then you're going to give us a YouTube link, and we're going to share it.
Exactly.
So everyone's going to become famous for 15 minutes.
Where do I pick my glass of wine up, Cynthia?
Oh, sorry. Right now it's only water. In October, we are going to serve Prosecco.
Excellent. And on that note, we will bid you adieu. Thank you very much, Cynthia, and to everyone.
Thank you so much, Susan and Andrea. Thank you so much.
Great. And so we're signing out from the Association of Women Art Dealers video, and we'll do more of these. Ciao for now, everyone.
Ciao.